Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of the Philly Pod. I'm your host, Mike, along with my co-host, Dave. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well, man. It was a pretty relaxing week. I can't complain. You know, the Sixers are playing well. Things are starting to look up here in 2017.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, the Sixers, man. Who saw that 5 of 6, 3 in a row?
Yeah, it's
Didn't
nice.
see that coming.
It's nice to see for sure. T.J. McConnell knocking down a game winner the other night too, of all people.
Dude, that picture of him and Embiid was funny. I don't know if you saw that, but they showed a picture of Embiid just kind of like, you know, it was I'll have to put it up on the Facebook page, but it was definitely something to behold. But yeah, Sixers are playing really well right now.
They are, and it's funny. Joel Embiid sent out a tweet earlier in the week claiming that the Sixers' goal is to make the playoffs.
I heard that.
And, you know, man, it's good sentiment from the kid, but is it realistic?
I don't think so. Not at this stage in the season, especially when you're this far in. I mean, crazier things have happened, but I think that right now, they just need to play the way they're playing and not worry about making the playoffs. Just continue to build the chemistry. If Ben Simmons comes back, though, things are going to get interesting in that locker room.
Ben Simmons is going to bring a different dynamic to that team on the court. I'm really, really excited how they use him. And they've got some shooters now on the outside where they're able to space the floor with guys like Ilyasova. I think that's going to help things a little bit, but you're still going to have the big man problem. You know, like you still don't know what to do with Joe and Jaleel. Like you see them on the court, man. Like they don't gel well together.
No,
you know, like they kind of get in each other's way watching them.
Yeah, and I think that's an issue. You have too many big men.
But we knew that going in.
We did, and it makes it hard to figure out how to coordinate the playing time.
Mm-hmm. I think, well, right now, what's surprising, I ripped them about, I don't know, a month and a half ago. But I think the guy you have to keep now is Nerlens Noel. Just having seen the times that Joel and Jaleel have been on the floor together, they just don't mix. So I actually think that Nerlens Noel is a better fit at this point to keep on the roster, just because his game is so totally different from Joe's, where he's all on the defensive side. Offensively, you know, Joe and Ja they're just not gelling together.
No, and I think that it would make sense to keep a guy like Nerlens Noel. You know, especially when you think about defensive. I mean, I think a perfect example of a guy that, you know, is all based on offense and, you know, a guy no defense. Carmelo Anthony, who we beat the Knicks the other night.
Yeah, we did. We left them speechless. They were speechless, man.
Yeah, and one thing that kind of stuck out to me was I saw the highlights of the game, and McDonald did not have any pressure on him on that final shot, that buzzer beater.
Yeah, you know, that's been the problem for the Knicks this year. There's no defense, and that's been the knock on Carmelo for years. You know, so yeah, it's a nice win. If I'm looking at the Sixers play as of late, I've got their schedule up here. Here are the teams they've beaten in this 5 out of 6 stretch. Okay, they beat Denver. They lost to the Celtics in a close game. They beat the T-Wolves. They beat the Nets, the Knicks, and the Bobcats. Now, looking at those wins, all right, the Denver Nuggets, all right, currently 15-23 on the year, out of the playoff picture. Nothing really special there, taking care of business. Mm-hmm. Timberwolves, same thing, 14-26. The Brooklyn Nets, they are...
They're 8-31.
They're the worst team in the league, right? Yeah, so you beat the Nets. The Knicks, they're out of the playoff picture. They're 18-22. And then the Charlotte Hornets are 20-20, the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference. That's an okay win. Yeah. But truthfully, they haven't really beaten anybody during this streak. So, can they make the playoffs, like Joel was saying? I don't see it. I'm looking at it here. They are currently, let me see here. The Washington Wizards. The Wizards are 19-19 in the 8th seed, and the Sixers are 12-25. So they're about roughly 7 games out of the final playoff spot.
Yeah, I don't think that's realistic. But You know what? I think one thing you do have to keep in mind, even though they've beaten bad teams, winning like this builds confidence.
It does. It helps a young team. You're right.
I mean, you look at the Sixers in the past couple years, and they had trouble beating some of these bad teams. Mm-hmm. So I look at this as a positive in the fact that they're building chemistry. They're starting to build a winning mentality. And I think that will reflect on the court when you go up against some of these better teams.
All right, so you see the Sixers. You see this as going in the right direction. You're definitely on board with that with the Sixers.
Yes. I see it going in the right direction. I mean, you gotta start somewhere. Every team has got to start somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're right, because it's an interesting conversation because there are still a lot of people out there who are not on board with this Sixers team, with the future, with Joel, with Ben Simmons. And where they're going. And it got me thinking, man, like what's the current climate of Philadelphia right now? What is the sports climate of this city right now? Because I still feel, while there's a lot of positive out there, man, talking with people, listening to what people have to say, I feel there's still a lot of negativity out there about the current outlook. Even for now, obviously right now there's not a lot going on. But even for the future, a lot of people are still not convinced.
I have to agree with them. I have to agree. I mean,
about the future,
not about the future, but right now, I think that you gotta. I think it's just a matter of patience, and seeing what happens with the 4 Philadelphia sports teams. And it's hard to get up with any of these teams when the future is uncertain still. But I mean, hey, if it goes in the right direction, I think you'll start to see talk, kind of come up again, and. I think it's just a patient period with Philadelphia sports.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's no argument. Right now, I mean, at this current moment in time, January 14th, 2017, there's nothing to be excited with Philly sports right now. There isn't. Yeah, Villanova's going to make another run at the national title, but we're not a college town. No. That doesn't drive us. This is a pro sports town. But I honestly have a hard time understanding how people cannot be excited about things going forward. Like, how can you not look at the core the 76ers are building? How do you look at that with Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons? Like, how do you look at that and not be excited for what's going to happen? You're going to get another lottery pick this year. You could possibly get another high draft pick this year. All right? You look at all the young guys on the Flyers. How are you not excited with that? You have Carson Wentz, franchise quarterback with the Philadelphia Eagles. How can you not be excited about that? The Phillies are still a couple years away, but they're coming back too. So I look at it as a whole, like you're going to have 3 teams in the next 2 to 3 years with legitimate chances to win championships. Yeah, is it all potential? Yeah, there's a chance it could still go sour. But I've seen enough with these guys where I know like there are definitely good things ahead. So I'm having a hard time understanding where all the negativity is coming from.
You know what? It's funny. I think about it now, and I think that people are just not patient enough in this city. I think patience is another issue that kind of creates that issue where it's like, all right, what are we? You're going to be great in the future, but what are you doing for me now? It's that kind of mentality, and I think that's where a lot of the negativity comes from because it's just there's a lack of patience. Hey, you know what? I myself am included in this because. While I do understand and you have to be patient before things get better, I am in that state of mind, especially with the Flyers, where it's like, look, I see you guys win with less, okay? And, I know that they can win games. It's just they're not coming through when they need to. But that's just, from where I'm standing. But, I agree. I think that patience is there needs to be patience.
Yeah, I guess it is a lack of patience in a way, but I think it sort of boils down to the fact that, like, other than the Phillies in 2008, there really hasn't been much here. You know, like, you take a look at the other three teams. Like, the Eagles have never won a Super Bowl. The Flyers have not won a Stanley Cup since 75, right? And the Sixers haven't won one since 83. So you take a look across the landscape of the other three teams. Like, yeah, we got a World Series title in 2008, but on the whole, there has not been – it just hasn't been much title-wise in this city for the last 30-plus years. And I think people are just starved for a title. So I think that's where the lack of patience is coming in, because it's hard. You know, I mean, listen, I totally understand. The Sixers have been down for years, haven't really had a legitimate team since that 2000-2001 squad led by Allen Iverson. You know, so it's hard to tell them, I will be patient, guys. In a couple of years, we're going to be back. I understand how that's difficult, but you can still see it with your eyes, you know? And
I think that's – sorry.
Go ahead.
That's been the MO. Mm-hmm. That's been the MO with this team.
Right.
You know.
Right. And I look at the Flyers, too. Like, yeah, you know, the Flyers have given us some runs. Really, aside from a couple of years, it's been in the playoffs pretty much every year consistently.
Yeah.
Now, you know, they're kind of in that boat I feel the Eagles were with Andy Reid and all those championship games where they just can't get over the hump. But even I look at the future for the Flyers, and I see a lot of potential there. The only thing that's missing is a goalie right now when I look at the Flyers. That has me a little bit concerned, but they've got some prospects down there in the minors. So I just look at the overall landscape, and I'm looking over the horizon, Mike, and I see good things. You know?
Yes. Especially when you got, you know, there are plenty of issues going on with the other teams. I mean, the Devils, they're still rebuilding. The Islanders, they're, you know, an in-between team. Mm-hmm. The Rangers, they're good. They're going to be an interesting team to watch because Lundqvist is getting up there in age. And then with the Penguins, they're probably the only team that's really stabilized in this division. And then, of course, the Capitals. But, you know, I think those are the only two teams that are really stabilized within.
But there's got to be good timing, right? Yeah, the Penguins have been up there in the Eastern Conference for a while, but like eventually, man, that's going to fall off. You know, so someone's got to take up the mantle. Yeah. The Flyers have all these young guys coming up. Why not them? I look at the NBA, the Eastern Conference. That's the Cavaliers. As long as LeBron is around, you know, it's going to be the Cavs. It's going to be the Cavs conference. But LeBron's 33 years old, man. You know, how many more years does he have left playing at that level? Someone in the Eastern Conference is going to have to step up.
Yep.
Why not the Sixers? They've got the young talent right now. Why can't it be them?
Yeah, why not? Why not us?
And I hear
why not us?
The answer I get a lot for the Flyers, Sixers, and Phillies, all that is because, well, they don't traditionally win. The Flyers never win the big games. The Sixers never win. The Phillies never win. The Eagles never do this. That's asinine thinking, if you ask me.
Yeah, true.
You know, you got to realize, you know, you've got different people in place. There's different regimes. You can't tie the whole organization to the failures of a few guys.
No, I would agree with that, and I can give you a prime example right now. Bobby Clark was the former GM of the Flyers. He would never go after European players. Never. Brian Hextall is now the GM, and he's doing just that. You got a bunch of young guys that are waiting to come up to the Flyers, and things are going to change. And I think people are going to chew up those words.
That's the perfect example. Like, you know, you have one guy who, I mean, come on, like that was stupid. He's not going to go after European players. You have a whole talent pool right there, right for the picking. Why would you not at least look in that area?
Yeah,
you know. So I think people get experiences like that with Clark as the GM there. Like you get like Rich Kotites or Ray Rhodes that come here. You know, Ed Wade, who they don't have the success, and they just attach those failures to the entire organization, and they just assume the teams are complete failures.
You know what? I'm going to defend Ed Wade here, only for the fact that he was the one that got that core together, that 08 core together.
Yeah, well, not. Yeah. I mean, everybody. Yeah, I think most people who are, you know, who follow the Philadelphia sports landscape close enough realize, the whole core of that roster was Ed Wade. You know. And you can say the same thing about what's going to happen for the 76ers. You know, the core of this roster is going to be, the core of the roster is going to be like Joel Embiid, Jaleel, possibly Noel, and Ben Simmons. Like, those are Sam Hinkie guys.
Yep.
Sam Hinkie got us in that position to get those players.
So Sam Hinkie,
another controversial one,
Yeah, Sam Hinkie.
He's another one who's going to live in infamy. A lot of people are not fans of what Hinkie did. I don't know if I've ever gone on the record saying it. I was totally for Hinkie's plan. Because in the NBA, man, you need superstars to win.
You do.
And you don't get by being the 7th or 8th seed. That doesn't get you anywhere. Nope. Okay? Yeah, you can say the Golden State Warriors, they got lucky hitting on Steph Curry and hitting with Draymond Green. That's not the blueprint, though, all right? They are the exception. You need superstars to be able to win in the NBA. And the only way you're going to get them, if you're not able to attract them through free agency, you have to get them through the draft. Yeah. And the only way you guarantee that through the draft is if you're picking high every year.
And you look at the Warriors now, and we have something that they don't have. Well, they have the offense. They don't have the size ability to step up to a team like the Cavaliers and stop them. The Sixers have that size and have that ability to get down low and play that way. Mm-hmm. Or will.
Yes, I don't know. I don't think the Cavs. I don't know if they have enough weapons to match Golden State this year, though. I'm not sure. I really think if they're going to be able to compete with Golden State this year, that they have to go out and make a move at the deadline.
Right. But definitely some exciting times ahead for Philadelphia sports fans.
There are. Unfortunately, a team that was looking good to win now in 2017, the Philadelphia Flyers. Boy, have things gone south with them, man.
It has.
Since that 10-game winning streak, 9-13.
That's
9-13 since that 10-game winning streak.
That's not good.
So what's the biggest difference between the way they played during that streak and the way they've played since?
Goaltending. I mean, it's that simple. Goaltending. Mason has been playing, up to his level, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that Neuvirth returned. So I think that's a big adjustment for Mason.
Excuse me. Sorry, man. I got that stat wrong. I was looking at the schedule backwards. All right, since the 10-game winning streak, ready? I'm going to go through it with you right now. It's actually worse than 9-13. Holy cow. ESPN does the schedule. They do the schedule differently. For the NBA, they scroll it up, and then the NHL, they do it. Yeah. They do it down. They do the opposite. Sorry, man.
Uh-huh.
All right, here's what we got to build on your thought here, okay?
Okay.
Since the 10-game winning streak, the Flyers are 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3-9 since the 10-game winning streak.
Yeah, that's definitely not good. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Mason was tired. He gets a day off here and there, but he gets thrown right back in there after that night off. And when you start a goalie for that period of time, you got to give him a few nights off here and there. You have to be able to spell him a little bit. And, obviously a number one goalie has to be able to play in and night out. But even they need those nights off. And Mason is not the guy that can give you that night in and night out kind of run.
He's not. And we talked about, listen, I stood up here, I said it on this podcast, you said it on this podcast, when Steve Mason was playing well, expect the swoon. For whatever reason, man, when he's playing well,
yep.
He's on it. And I don't know, I guess it must be a mental thing with him. Because once he starts playing poorly, he just can't get out of his own way. And I'm sorry, Mike, it's not all the defense, okay? All those Steve Mason supporters, I don't want to hear that, okay? Looking at the schedule here, you give up, 5 goals, 6 goals, 4 goals, 4 goals. That's not all defense, okay? You can't just, that's too easy of an excuse. Too many times he gives up easy goals.
And honestly, there's only so much Steve Mason or the defense can do to keep the puck out of the net.
Right.
Right. They can't step in and play goaltender along with Steve Mason because that'd be a penalty.
Right, man. And I'm looking here, the Flyers, they have given. It's actually amazing, dude, that they are even in a position to make the playoffs because they have given up the most goals in the Eastern Conference, and they are tied for giving up the most goals allowed in the NHL.
And to me, that's unacceptable. I mean, they are very fortunate to be in the 8th seed right now, but they've got a lot of work to do. They got the 5-day stretch where they don't play at all. I think they need to use those 5 days, and they need to use them effectively to figure out what they need to do to get back on track. Obviously rest them up a little bit, but don't lose focus.
It's just it's just the Achilles heel of this team, goaltending. It's just it's ultimately going to be what holds them back. It is. It's a shame. I mean, was I expecting them to win? The Stanley Cup? No, we both said that. Even when they were winning 10 games in a row, you and I both said, all right, we're not really reading too much into this. The fans, however, were. Remember, we put our poll up. 86% of the people were on board with the Flyers, saying they're legitimate contenders. However, we were not. Okay, we were in that minority there, dude. And that's because of this. Like, they just don't have it in between the pipes.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't.
They don't.
And until they get that, really, it's a credit to the job they've done offensively. Mm-hmm. The fact that they're even in position to make the playoffs is phenomenal. It really is, because there's been a lot to overcome this year at the goaltending position.
It is phenomenal, and you said it. You hit the nail on the head. It's the offense. It's been the offensive support that they've received. And it's shown, but now they're in a slump, and they need to figure out how to get out of that slump. And I think that all starts with getting Neuwirth more playing time and getting him some consecutive starts and seeing how he does.
Yeah, but we'll see, man. It's disappointing for sure. It's definitely not. See, when stuff like this happens, it definitely doesn't help the climate either. Yeah. Philadelphia sports and the Flyers going on a 10-game winning streak. Yeah. Now they could potentially miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
I understand the frustration from people. I do, but don't let the now discourage the future.
Right.
Because the future's still bright. There are still a lot of good things that are going to happen in the city. It's just right now it's tough. It's a tough time to be a Philly sports fan.
It is.
It really is. I know we talked about one of our earlier episodes. Like, when was the last time? I mean, I can't even remember the last time all four of the major sports, they didn't really have – there was really nothing to cheer for.
Yeah.
It's been a while. That was one of our early trivia questions.
It was.
I think. I can't remember. 93, was it?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't 93 because of the Phillies. Maybe it was 94, 95. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't – I'm not – I'm excited for the future, but I'm not excited right now.
No. But things are going to look better, Mike. Just remember, it's as you dubbed it, the Philadelphia Muth Movement.
Nice one, Dave. Nice one.
Yeah, we'll be all right down the road.
We will be.
So we've got coming up now, we have Grind Time, where we give you things that have ticked us off during the week. Mike, I'm pretty good. What do you got for us this week here on Grind Time?
Well, Dave, I'm not going to do Grind Time this week. Instead, I'm going to do Praise Time.
Praise Time?
Yes.
Oh, okay. This is a little different. I like where this is going. What do you got for us?
Well, last weekend, we went to a Flyers game, right? We went to the Flyers game.
Yes, we did. We braved the elements, by the way. Drove through that snowstorm.
Yes. And, well, everything was going smoothly until we hit a turn. Dave was on, taking your time. You're driving, and you end up losing control of the car. And you managed to save it. You managed to save the car by the skin of its teeth. That deserves some praise, man. That was some great driving on your part.
Thank you. I mean, I guess it wasn't that good that it started to slide the snow. But here's the situation for the people out there. Yeah, we were driving to the game. We ended up taking my girlfriend's car, and I didn't realize until after we were driving that the car is just, for whatever reason, that car does not perform well in the snow. And I asked her, I was like, well, you got new tires on this, right? And she said, nah. She got the car inspected in July. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, they told me in July I'm going to need new tires soon. If I came back in a few months, the tires would fail inspection. So I heard that. I was like, I don't like the sound of that. So we came to a corner.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, all right, we were at a stoplight. I went to make the turn. I remember thinking, the thought process was, all right, I'll take it slow. This car's not that great in the snow. Yeah. I go to make the turn, right? And I didn't fishtail for any people out there. If you start thinking, there was no fishtail. I made the turn, and the front tires just could not cut through the snow. So I'm turning, and this car is now gone into the path of a car sitting at a red light. So now the car is sliding. I'm trying to hit the brakes. because it's a foreign car. Apparently, the older cars you're supposed to tap the brakes to get to slow down. Mm-hmm. Where apparently the new cars you're not supposed to do that. So it was my first time in this car in the snow. I hit the brakes as hard as I could. I just said, screw that. Not supposed to tap the brakes thing. I followed what you're supposed to do. I hit the brakes as hard as I could, turned the wheel as hard as I could to the right, and we just came to a complete stop. It was just inches.
Yeah.
Inches from hitting the other car.
Yeah, that was a great save on your part to save the car. And a great job on your part to also, get us keep us safe. Because that could have been disastrous, man.
That was ridiculous, man. I wasn't going more than 10 miles an hour in that thing. Yep. That was under 10 miles an hour making that turn, and that thing just would not cut through the snow.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was, but I was able to get us out of it. I'll take credit for the save. I guess I've got to own up to the fact that I would have been the one to crash us. I don't totally think it would have been my fault given the conditions, but I appreciate the praise time here. That should have been my grind for the week. Now that I think about it, driving that stupid car. We got to the game because we had to turn around and we decided to get my car because I just got tires on my car for inspection. So my tires on there were good, and we made the switch and we got there fine, man.
Yeah,
and we saw Flyers win.
Nice.
One of the rare wins since the streak.
Yeah,
since the streak ended. Huh?
Yeah, very rare.
Yeah, but that worked out. All right, so there you go. Instead of grind time today, we had praise time.
Yes.
All right, so we got to move it along. No buzz stories this week. We just released those with our Monday podcast. So shout-outs. We're going to go to Twitter. All right, we have to give shout-outs to Zach Danner. Follow this on Twitter. And to Best in the World Sports. Thank you guys for following along and listening to us at the Philly Pod. Mike, anything from Facebook this week?
Facebook was quiet.
Quiet. And it's a slow time right now. The Eagles buzz, I think, has kind of slowed down things. Yeah, in the social media world. But we'll pick it back up. We'll be all right as we get closer to playoff time in March, man.
Definitely.
But again, guys, thank you for all your support out there. We appreciate everybody listening.
Of course.
You can find us. Yeah, we have a YouTube channel. We're on SoundCloud. You can download us on iTunes for free. And for everybody who's been listening to us from the start, we thank you for that. We appreciate your support.
Yep. Definitely.
All right. Well, Mike, we got playoff games today. People are going to be listening to this after the fact. I'm going to go on record. All four of the games. Well, three of the games I have an idea. Well, I know who I like in three of the games. I'm definitely going Atlanta to take out Seattle. I just think the Seattle secondary is going to be outmatched by Atlanta's wide receivers.
Yeah. I like Atlanta as well. I think that.
You like Atlanta?
Yeah. I think they just have too many weapons. And if Seattle's offense doesn't get it going, I think they're in trouble.
Okay. And then the night game for Saturday, I like the Patriots to take out the Texans.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement too.
The other two I think are a little tougher. Right now, I have a lean towards the Packers. Just the way Aaron Rodgers is playing right now, he's going to be tough to beat. He has been on fire for about the last month and a half. I'm not sure the Cowboys are going to be able to handle that firepower.
I'm on board with that as well.
Yeah. All right, and then, boy, it's a Pittsburgh line. The Chiefs are only a point favorite against the Steelers, but I don't know. I just have a feeling about Kansas City this year, man. There have been goofy things happening with this year. I like KC in that game.
Give me the Chiefs.
The Chiefs. All right, so there you go. Those are our picks. All right, so we're actually on the same page this week. As we went complete opposite last week. I went 4-0, and you went the other way.
Yeah.
You had the other offer.
Yeah, the one that you don't want.
All right, but we thank you. We thank everybody for listening again. Remember, you can check us out on YouTube. We have a Facebook page. You can like us at the Philly Pod. We have a Twitter handle at the Philly Pod. Listen to us on YouTube and SoundCloud as well. And you can also download us on iTunes. We're going to sign off for another week here. We'll be back next Saturday with another edition. I'm Dave.
I'm Mike.
Catch you guys next week for the Philly Pod.
Later. Yeah, I would agree.